Hello YouTubers, it's me, Michael Brewer, your friendly neighborhood gay guru, reporting to you once again from the lovely beaches of Sardinia. Today we're in somewhere on the west coast. We've been having so much fun we kind of lost track of the names of the places we are, and it really doesn't matter. As you can see behind me, the water looks fine. It's a sunny day, warm, we're having a great time. And we're on the second day of our 7-day mental diet. And it's going pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
It hasn't been without its challenges, however. Particularly yesterday, we chose to do this on a holiday because we find, and I really recommend this to people, it's easier to step out of your day-to-day routine and do this 7-day mental diet rather than in your everyday, because you're bound to get triggered all day long by all the things that trigger you. But even on holiday, there's no escaping that. And as I drive my camper around the island of Sardinia yesterday, there was a couple, well, let's just say I had a funny 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes though, because that would go off the mental diet, but 5 seconds. I had a funny 5 seconds. There was one point where it was getting towards the end of the day. We were looking to find a place to park, and we weren't finding it, and we found ourselves in sort of a scuzzy, busy little beachside town, and it wasn't at all what we were looking for. And I realized that... Actually,
it was more resortish. It was more of a resort town with discos and fancy kinds of places and people that were looking to have some nightlife fun and all that. And that's really not what we're about, at least not on this trip. So
yeah, right. In this case, we were looking for something a little more close to nature and quieter. So I was in the town and I was in traffic, and I had to back up, and I realized that this was a situation where I would normally kind of lose it. You know, get grumpy, curse at people in the car. And I was happy to say that I caught myself right away at it and managed to raise my vibration and not fall off the diet, though I came real close to the 30-second rule a couple of times. But I have to say, I think I stayed on it. How's it been going for you?
Fine. I was sitting next to you in that funny 5 minutes, and it was, it was rough. I knew we were headed in that direction, having driven with you before.
Yes.
In other even more dire situations, and I knew that you were going to turn it around, and I was just going to stay as positive as I could and encourage you and tell you what a good driver you were and how well you were doing and everything's fine and so on and so forth. So when you're traveling with a friend who's going through this kind of mental diet with you, you can certainly encourage each other to stay on track if you sense that things may go negative for that person, especially if, in this situation, a driver of a large RV going through these little Italian streets that are lined with these little cars and people not really paying attention to traffic and all that stuff. So you can help each other to stay in alignment under those kinds of conditions.
That's a good point. Whereas the diet is supposed to be a personal one-to-one thing, it really does help to do it with someone, I think, because, well, basically, I think the world would probably think you're pretty crazy otherwise. Negative thinking is just normal, and I've noticed that if you're a negative thinker and you go off on a negative train of thought, you tend to get more support for that than a positive thinking. Mm-hmm. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. It's the old misery loves company.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
And so in this case, bliss loves company.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing pretty well on the diet. In the end, we got out of that busy town and went down the coast and found ourselves a beach and just stayed there.
But this is a beach unlike any of the ones we've seen before. It's long and it's sandy and it's reminiscent of beaches from home in New York, which is kind of comforting for me right now. And I just needed to go on a long walk. And this is the kind of beach you can do that. Go on a long walk and with very few people around and just collect things on the beach, which is one of my favorite things to do. And just kind of be. Right. Before we came down to the beach, I should mention, however, that I had a text from my son back in the States alerting me to some political things that are going on that are, he wanted to make sure as a traveler I was alert and aware that there are things going on politically in the world, and I was able to speak to him for a brief amount of time, thank him for letting me know, and then tried to get back on track. That might have been more than 30 seconds, however. There was some worry there, how I could get message back and so on and so forth. But I've been able to do that, and we came down to the beach, and here we are. So
yeah. And I think that's something you should realize, that is when you are vibrating positively and above middle seas, so to speak, you tend not to get yourself in those situations. You tend to zig while they're zagging, and you're just not there. Just across that water there is Tunesia. That way, actually. Probably wouldn't be the best place to be an American right now, with all the upheaval going on. But we're just across the ocean here in Sardinia, and there's nothing. We're in bliss. It's totally quiet and peaceful and happy here, and we're having a great time. And so the diet's going well. Yep. I think so.
I do want to mention one more thing about that. The way I was able to turn that little bit of worry around that was caused by the alert was to appreciate how much my son loves me. And my daughter-in-law also messaged me to appreciate how much they love me and want me to be aware as I'm traveling, want me to be safe. And that was the saving grace for the mood that had been created momentarily.
So you found a way to pivot away from the negative and turn it around into a positive.
Right.
And that kept you on your diet.
Right.
Right. And that was the same for me with the traffic, to realize that we would eventually find a place. And that this was just temporary. This too shall pass. That's really a good phrase to keep in your mind when you're going through those tough moments. This too will pass. It always does. And
let's mention something about the place we did find after that. It was this little cove that had a restaurant on it, and we just kind of pulled in there just to kind of get our bearings of where we were and what we were going to do, even thinking that we might have to park there for the night because we couldn't find the campground that we were looking for. And just walking on the beach and kind of settling into where we were and what we were about to do, it suddenly occurred to me walking on the beach that all the colors of the rocks on the beach, every last one of them was the color of some crayons and pencils that we had used in a work of art that we had made the night before. So I knew when I came to that awareness that we were surrounded by the colors, the natural colors that we had used in our artwork, I knew that we were in the right place.
That's true.
I brought that to
just
my
a note of
attention.
explanation, as we are doing the 7-day mental workshop and on this road trip, we're doing an art workshop at the same time, and I'll put some pictures up right now of the picture painting she's talking about, the drawing, and we're doing a drawing or two each night, and I think I'll clip them to this video so you can see that too, because that's part of the process. And there's a good point that you bring up, because having some kind of creative outlet while you're doing this is very helpful. It is a good accompaniment, as is exercise and getting out in fresh air and getting off on your own. You can be doing things to augment your 7-day diet, including your regular food diet, eating well during this time, drinking lots of water, because you're also processing a lot of your old negative stuff while you're doing this and letting a lot of that go. And so a lot of water helps flush out a lot of that negative stuff at the same time. So those are a few tips for now. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think that's it for now.
All right, we reached about the 10-minute mark, so we're going to shine off for today from day 2 of the 7-day mental diet. We've managed to stay on.
Yes.
And I hope you're doing well too. How's it going? Write to us. Let us know how it's going for you. And we wish you all the best. Signing off positively from the wonderful island of Sardinia, it's Michael and Irene.
See ya.
Arrivederci.